Imagine lying in a quiet room, listening to the soft, steady tick of a clock. With each passing second, a tiny grain of time slips away, never to return. It is a simple fact that our days are limited. Here at Sleepy Mind Lab, we gather in the quiet hours to explore gentle ideas that bring peace to the mind. We often avoid thinking about the end of life, wrapping it in fear and silence. Yet, looking directly at our temporary nature can actually lift the heavy weight of daily worries. When we accept that everything passes, the pressure to be perfect fades away. I invite you to settle in, breathe slowly, and join me as we explore 50 perspectives on mortality that make life feel lighter. Let us begin. What if the state of being dead is a gentle return to the same quiet stillness you already experienced for billions of years before you were born? Symmetry of Nonexistence. 2,000 years ago, a Roman philosopher named Lucretius sat with a sheet of papyrus, staring into the flickering light of a candle. He was thinking about a simple puzzle that still comforts us today. He asked us to look backward in time, far beyond our own memories. Think about the vast, endless stretch of history before you were born. The Roman Empire rose and fell. Continents shifted. Ancient forests grew, withered, and decayed. Generations of humans walked the earth, laughed, cried, and vanished back into the soil. Billions of years passed by in absolute silence, and during all that time, you did not suffer. You did not feel lonely or cold or anxious. You were simply not there, and that absence was perfectly peaceful. Now, Lucretius suggests we look forward. The time after we die is exactly the same as the time before we arrived. It is a perfect mirror image. Think about the 19th century. It is a blank canvas for you, free of any weight. You had no worries about the wars, the weather, or the daily struggles of the people who lived back then. Now think about the 22nd century, or even the 30th century. It will be exactly the same. The universe will continue its dance, and you will return to that quiet state of rest. We often feel anxious about what happens after our lives end, yet we never feel terror about the billions of years that passed before we took our first breath. Why should the future scare us if the past does not? They are the same blank space. There is no pain in the time before birth, and there is no pain in the time after. Non-existence is not a dark room where you are left alone in the dark. It is not a place of sadness or regret. It is a neutral state of absolute balance. It is the quiet before the music begins, and the quiet after the final note fades away. When we see this symmetry, the weight of our fears begins to lift. We realize that we have already experienced non-existence for billions of years, and it did not hurt at all. It was a state of complete peace. The period after our lives will be no different. We are simply returning to the silent harbor we came from, a place of safety and rest that has always been there, waiting for us. In this light, death is a gentle return to the quiet balance of the cosmos. The Epicurean Argument. Imagine walking through a quiet garden late at night, feeling the cool air against your skin. You are here, experiencing the world. Now, think about a simple riddle posed over 2,000 years ago by a philosopher named Epicurus. He suggested a way of looking at our end that is surprisingly comforting. He pointed out that we worry about a state we can never actually encounter. His argument is simple. While we exist, death is not here. And when death arrives, we are no longer there to experience it. We are never in the same room at the same time. For anything to be bad for you, you have to be there to experience it. If you stub your toe on a wooden chair, you feel the sharp pain because you are present. If you lose a treasured item, you feel the sadness of the loss because you are alive to feel that empty space. Harm requires a living, breathing person to receive it. Without a listener, there is no sound. Without you, there is no pain, no sadness, and no regret. If you do not exist to feel the loss, then the loss does not exist for you. It is a simple equation of presence. You cannot be harmed by something that only exists when you do not. Think of this like worrying about a room you will never enter. Imagine a locked door in a house. You will never open it, you will never look inside, and you will never step across the threshold. The room is completely off limits to your awareness. It makes no sense to worry about the temperature of that room, or whether it is dark, or whether you will feel lonely inside it. You will never be in there. In the exact same way, you will never be in the state of being gone. You will never sit in the dark thinking about how you are dead. When we realize this, a gentle relief washes over us. We understand that we do not experience the end of life. We only experience life itself. The moment of crossing over is not a place where we sit and mourn our own absence. We are simply gone. The fear we feel is actually a worry about a shadow that disappears the moment we touch it. By seeing this, we can let go of the anxiety of what comes after. We can focus on the warmth of the tea in our hands, the sound of the wind outside, and the quiet beauty of this very moment. We are here right now, and that is the only place we will ever be. We can breathe easily, knowing that we will never have to face the state of being gone. The cosmic dustbin. Let us sit quietly for a moment and consider the material that makes up your physical form. Think of the iron flowing through your blood, giving it that familiar warmth. Think of the calcium structure of your bones, keeping you upright. Every single one of these elements was forged billions of years ago. They were created inside the intense, fiery hearts of dying stars, long before our solar system even existed. You are, quite literally, made of ancient stardust. The atoms currently gathered to form your body are not new. They are borrowed. The very carbon in your skin and your muscles once belonged to ancient oceans that covered the earth. It was part of prehistoric ferns reaching for a young sun. It was carried in the breath of dinosaurs roaming vast forests. Your body is a temporary meeting place for these ancient particles. They have traveled through deep time, changing forms over and over, before coming together to temporarily become you. When our lives reach their natural end, we often think of it as a loss. Yet, when understood from the perspective of the universe, it is a scattering. It is the return of these borrowed particles back to the vast cosmic pool. The atoms that make up your eyes, your hands, and your heart will not vanish. They will simply go their separate ways. Some might eventually settle into the soil to feed a growing oak tree. Others might rise into the atmosphere, becoming part of a drifting cloud, or wash into the sea to nourish new life. This realization brings a deep sense of peace. You are not separate from the earth, trying to survive on its surface. You are a temporary wave rising up from the crust of the earth, only to fall back into the quiet ocean of matter. When the wave recedes, the water remains. The universe is not losing you. It is simply reclaiming its building blocks to create something new. You have always belonged to this world, and you will always belong to it, even when your current shape dissolves back into the great cosmic dustbin. But if we are just temporary patterns of matter, what happens when the pattern itself changes every single day? The finite frame. Imagine sitting on a quiet beach at twilight. If you reach down and scoop up a handful of sand, the tiny grains slip through your fingers. There are billions of these grains stretching along the shore, and because they are everywhere, we rarely stop to appreciate a single one. Now, imagine that among those countless grains, you find a single, small diamond. It catches the fading light, glowing softly in your palm. You would hold it carefully. You would feel its weight, noticing every sharp edge and clear face. The diamond is precious to us because it is rare. If the entire beach were made of diamonds, we would walk over them without a second thought. They would become as ordinary as the sand. This simple difference in how we value things is what psychologists and economists call the scarcity heuristic. It is a simple rule of the human mind. When something is limited, we naturally pay closer attention to it. We protect it. We find beauty in it. When something is infinite, its value drops to zero in our minds. Now, let us carry this idea over to the span of a human life. We often think of our limited time as a flaw in our design. We wish for more hours, more years, perhaps even eternity. But if we had an infinite number of tomorrows, the structure of our choices would dissolve. If you had forever, there would be no reason to watch the sunset this evening, because there would be an infinite number of sunsets waiting for you. There would be no reason to tell someone you love them today, because you could always do it next year, or next century, or 1,000 years from now. Without a limit, our choices lose their weight. We would fall into a state of endless waiting, putting everything off because time would have no cost. An infinite life would lead to a deep and heavy indifference. Our mortality acts as a frame around a painting. If a canvas stretched out in every direction without ever stopping, it would not be a painting at all. It would just be an endless wash of color, impossible to understand or appreciate. The border of the frame is what gives the artwork its shape. The lines where the colors must end are the very lines that allow the image to emerge. By drawing a boundary, the artist forces us to focus on what is inside. In the same way, the boundary of death is what frames the days we have. It defines the beginning, the middle, and the end. It turns a chaotic stream of moments into a story. Because our days are numbered, the choice of how we spend each one matters. When you choose to spend an hour reading a book, walking in the woods, or talking with a friend, you are choosing to give away a piece of a limited resource. That choice is meaningful because that hour can never be replaced. The scarcity of our time is what gives our attention its power. It is what makes love an act of generosity, because to love someone is to give them a portion of your finite existence. So, when we view our lives through this frame, the end does not seem like a shadow waiting to put out our light. Instead, the end is what makes the light bright. It is the reason we feel the warmth of the sun on our skin, the reason we listen closely to the voice of a companion, and the reason we cherish the quiet moments of a simple day. The limit is not a curse. It is the very thing that makes this brief journey so beautiful. The Ship of Theseus. Consider a wooden ship sailing the ocean. Over decades, its planks begin to rot. One by one, the sailors replace the old boards with new timber. Eventually, every single piece of the ship has been swapped. Not a single original nail or beam remains. We can ask ourselves a simple question. Is this still the same ship that originally set sail? This classic puzzle is called the Ship of Theseus. This is more than a simple thought experiment. It is a description of your own body. We tend to view ourselves as solid, unchanging things, but we are much more like that wooden vessel. Your skin cells are shed and replaced every few weeks. Your red blood cells live for about 120 days before they are recycled. Even your bones, which feel so permanent, are completely remodeled over the course of 10 years. In your daily life today, almost none of the physical material you were born with is still there. You have already been rebuilt several times, existing as a brand new physical entity that only carries the shape of the old one. This constant replacement happens to our minds too. Think of the child you were at age 5. That child had different dreams, different fears, and a completely different way of seeing the world. Physically, almost every cell of that child is gone. Mentally, their memories and thoughts have faded or transformed. That 5-year-old child no longer exists in the physical world. yet you do not mourn their passing. You transition from that child into who you are now, slowly, plank by plank, without even noticing. We fear death because we view it as a sudden, violent end to our identity. But when we examine this process, we see that we are already experts at dying. We survive the quiet disappearance of our past selves every single day. The person you were 10 years ago, with their specific worries and habits, has quietly stepped aside to make room for the person you are tonight. When the final transition arrives, it may not be a sudden drop off a cliff. Instead, it is simply the final plank being replaced on a ship that has been gracefully changing its wood since the day it was launched. It is the natural continuation of a process you have been practicing your entire life. You are not a static object threatened by time. You are a flowing river, comfortable with change and always ready to let go of what was, to make room for what is next. Cosmic Insignificance Therapy. Think back to the year 1990, when a robotic traveler named Voyager 1 was hurtling toward the edge of our solar system. Before leaving the planets behind, the spacecraft turned its camera back toward home. From 6 billion kilometers away, it captured an image of Earth. In that photograph, our entire planet appears as a single tiny point of light, a mere fraction of a pixel, suspended in a pale beam of scattered sunlight. It looks like a speck of dust floating in a sunbeam. When we contemplate that speck, we realize that every human being who ever lived spent their entire life there. Every leader, every peasant, every teacher, and every child lived out their days on that tiny dot. Every great joy, every quiet moment, and every deep sorrow occurred on that dust mote. When we hold this image in our minds, our daily worries begin to shift. The argument you had yesterday, the mistake you made at work, the fear of what tomorrow might bring, all of these things start to shrink. They do not disappear. Instead, they find their proper scale. They are small things on a small world. Against the backdrop of billions of light years and billions of years of history, our individual lives are brief. We are here for a single heartbeat of the cosmos. This realization can feel frightening at first, but it carries a quiet healing power. We often live under the heavy weight of believing that our lives must carry some grand universal importance. We pressure ourselves to leave a permanent mark on the world, to achieve greatness, or to be perfect in everything we do. But the cosmos does not demand this of us. The stars do not care about our mistakes, and the wide space between galaxies does not keep track of our failures. We do not carry the weight of the universe on our shoulders. The universe is too vast to notice our small stumbles, and that means we are entirely free. We are free to make mistakes, free to fail, and free to simply try again. This cosmic insignificance is a form of therapy. It liberates us from the heavy pressure of performance. When we accept that we are small, we can finally breathe. We can see our lives as a brief, beautiful chance to experience the universe. We are like children who have been given a single afternoon to play in a park. We do not need to build a permanent monument in the dirt. We only need to feel the grass under our feet, enjoy the warmth of the sun, and appreciate the time we have. Our mortality becomes easier to bear when we see ourselves as part of this grand, silent expanse. We are temporary arrangements of matter, waves that rise from the ocean for a moment before sinking back into the deep. The ocean remains, and so do we, in a different form. Our end is no failure of our story. It is the natural completion of our quiet turn on the stage. We are made of star stuff, and to the stars we will eventually return. So, let the scale of the universe comfort you tonight. Let the cold, quiet stars remind you that your worries are small. You are allowed to simply exist, to feel the cool air, to listen to the quiet sounds of the night, and to let go of the need to be important. Your life does not need to shake the heavens to be beautiful. It only needs to be lived, one quiet breath at a time. The relational thread. Imagine throwing a small pebble into a calm pond and watching the concentric rings spread across the surface. The pebble sinks to the dark bottom, out of sight, yet the water continues to move. The rings expand, touching lily pads, shifting tiny grains of sand near the shore and whispering through the reeds. Our lives follow a very similar pattern. When our physical presence is gone, the ripples we created continue to travel outward, shaping the world in ways we will never fully see. Each small choice we make acts like that pebble, sending gentle waves into the future. Think of a warm word spoken to a friend who was having a difficult day. That friend felt a little lighter, went home, and spoke gently to their child. The child, feeling secure, shared a toy at school the next morning. This chain of small actions spreads far beyond the original moment. We are constantly teaching, sharing, and building. A simple lesson on how to bake bread, a wooden bench built for a park, or a song shared during a quiet evening are all ways we leave ourselves behind. The care we put into our work remains active in the world long after we have moved on. Human culture is a long handoff of torches across generations. We warm ourselves by fires lit by people whose names are long forgotten. We use words they invented, walk on paths they cleared, and live in societies built on their ideas. Every time you share knowledge or show kindness, you are handing a torch to the person next to you. They will carry it forward, passing its light to someone else, long after your own flame has gone out. This beautiful process does not require fame, only the willingness to pass on what we have learned. There is a deep peace in realizing we are a link in this grand, ongoing chain of human experience. You do not need to build giant monuments to be remembered. The quiet ways you touch the lives of those around you are more than enough. Your decisions, your laughter, and your care become woven into the fabric of the future. You live on in the habits of your loved ones, the memories of your friends, and the unseen structure of the world. We are not isolated events that vanish without a trace. We are part of a continuous flow, a relational thread that connects the past to the future, holding the human story together. By being here, you have contributed to the grand tapestry, and that contribution remains forever. The Hourglass Illusion. Imagine holding a strip of movie film in your hands. In a single frame, you see a character laughing, perhaps holding a cup of warm tea. A few frames to the left, the cup sits on the table. To the right, the character is walking away. To the person inside the movie, the past is gone, and the future has not happened yet. But to you, holding the physical reel, every single moment of that story exists at the exact same time. The beginning, the middle, and the end are all equally real, printed permanently onto the plastic strip, existing all at once. Modern physics suggests that our universe works in a very similar way. Albert Einstein introduced an idea called the block universe. In this view of reality, time is not a flowing river that washes away the past. Instead, time is a physical dimension, much like height, width, and depth. Just as the city of New York and the city of Tokyo both exist simultaneously even if you are standing in London, the past, the present, and the future all exist together in a giant four-dimensional block of space-time. Every moment is already there, waiting in the landscape of reality. When we think about our lives, we often worry that our experiences disappear the moment they pass. We feel as though the present moment is a tiny, fragile raft, floating on a vast ocean of nothingness, and that once a second ticks by, it is lost forever. We worry that when we die, our entire existence is erased. But the block universe tells us a different story. Your childhood, your first love, and the final breath you will ever take are all permanently carved into the fabric of the cosmos. They do not vanish. Instead of viewing death as the destruction of your life, you can view it as the outer boundary of a completed masterpiece. A beautiful painting is not ruined because it has an edge where the canvas ends. The border defines the picture, giving it shape and structure. In the same way, the limited span of your life does not mean your existence is temporary. It means your story has a defined shape, permanently preserved in the architecture of space-time. You are always there, smiling, crying, living, occupying your unique coordinates in the universe forever. If time is a static map, why does the present moment feel so urgent and alive? The eternal present. When you think about your watch, does the future ever actually arrive? Or is it always just now? Think of a clock on a wall. The second hand sweeps around, ticking away, pointing to numbers that represent moments yet to come. But when the hand actually lands on a number, it does so in the present. You cannot live in the tick that just passed, and you cannot step into the tick that is waiting. Every breath you take, every sound you hear, and every thought that crosses your mind happens in this exact space. There is an old Zen teaching that helps us understand this structure of time. It suggests that the past is nothing more than memory, a collection of mental footprints left behind in the soil of our minds. The future is simply expectation, a projection we create using our imagination. Neither of these places actually exists outside of our thoughts. The only reality that has ever existed, or will ever exist, is the current moment. We are locked into this continuous, unfolding present. If you observe your own consciousness, you notice that it is always anchored here. Even when you remember a childhood summer, you are retrieving that memory now. When you plan what to cook for dinner tomorrow, you are planning it now. Your awareness is like a spotlight that only shines on the immediate space directly in front of it. This realization brings a profound sense of safety. When you break your life down to this single, quiet moment, you find that you are always safe. Right now, in this heartbeat, you are breathing. You are listening. The difficulties we anticipate, the worries about tomorrow, and the shadows of yesterday are not happening in this room. They are mental maps, not the terrain itself. This applies directly to how we think about our end. We often project our minds forward, imagining a cold, dark future where we are gone. We worry about the state of being dead, treating it as a destination we will one day arrive at and experience. But if consciousness is only capable of experiencing the present, then you can never actually experience a state of non-existence. Consider this link between who we are and when we are. If you are here, death is not. When death is here, you are not there to witness it. Your subjective experience of life is an unbroken chain of present moments. Since there is no self to experience the absence of self, you will never actually encounter the state of non-existence. You will never open your eyes to find yourself in a dark, empty void. You will never sit in the future and regret your absence. Your personal reality is entirely made of the living now. The concept of being dead is always a future idea, a thought that exists only while you are alive to think it. It is never a present reality. Because of this, you are free from ever having to live through your own absence. Your awareness will only ever know the light of existence. When you rest in this understanding, the weight of the future begins to lift. You do not have to carry the burden of tomorrow, nor do you have to solve the mystery of what happens when the clock stops. You only have to inhabit the thin, beautiful slice of time that is happening right now. We can choose to view our lives as a single, continuous note played on an instrument. The note does not worry about the silence that preceded it, nor does it worry about the silence that will follow. It simply rings out, vibrant and clear, in the space it occupies. We too can ring out in the present without the need to project our fears into a time we will never inhabit. When you let go of the need to colonize the future with your worries, you are left with a quiet, spacious room. In this room, there is no room for fear, because fear requires a future to survive. Without the future, fear simply evaporates, leaving behind a deep and lasting quiet. Think of it as sitting by a campfire in a dark forest. The firelight warms your face and shows you the ground beneath your feet. The darkness beyond the light is vast and unknown, but you do not need to walk into it. You only need to sit by the warmth of the fire. The present moment is your firelight. It is the only place you will ever inhabit, a safe harbor that remains constant even as the world changes around you. In this moment, you are here. In this moment, there is only peace. The Canvas of Nothingness. Imagine a world of pure, unending sound. It is a constant, unbroken hum, a heavy wall of white noise, where no note ever starts and no note ever stops. In a world like that, you would never hear a melody. You could not appreciate the sweet rise of a violin, the deep resonance of a cello, or the comforting rhythm of a simple lullaby. Without the silence between the notes, music disappears. It becomes nothing but a blank, deafening roar that tells no story. We need contrast to perceive anything at all. Think about the night sky. If the heavens were permanently filled with bright, blazing sunlight, we would never know the stars were there. The deep, dark canvas of the night is what allows those tiny, distant points of silver to shine so brightly. Or think about the home you live in. A house is not made of solid wood and stone alone. It is defined by the empty space inside it. We build walls only to create rooms, to carve out pockets of emptiness where we can walk, breathe, and rest. The void is not the enemy of the structure. It is the very reason the structure exists. This is how we can think about our own lives. Death is the quiet background that allows the vivid colors of our existence to stand out. It is the silence that makes the song of your life sweet and recognizable. If we lived forever, if the days stretched on in an infinite, unbroken line, the value of each moment would slip away. A quiet Tuesday afternoon would mean nothing if you had an infinite number of Tuesday afternoons waiting for you in the future. The warmth of a hot cup of tea on a cold morning, the shared laughter of a friend, or the quiet joy of a walk through the autumn leaves would lose their brightness. Death acts as the frame around the painting. It does not ruin the picture. Instead, it defines it. It gives the colors their boundary, their shape, and their intensity. By knowing that our time is limited, we are gifted with the ability to care deeply, to love fully, and to appreciate the present moment. The finite nature of our lives is the very thing that makes them precious. It is the necessary structural support for the beauty of living. So, we can welcome the quiet blankness that awaits us not with fear, but with gratitude. It is the empty canvas that makes our brief, bright brushstrokes so meaningful. The passenger seat. Think back to a time you were riding in the passenger seat of a car on a rainy night. Outside, the world is dark and wet, and the only light comes from the distant glow of street lamps and the red taillights of cars ahead. The windshield wipers clear the glass with a steady, rhythmic sweep, creating a small window of clarity in the storm. You did not have your hands on the steering wheel, and you could not control the slippery road, the wind, or the decisions of other drivers. Yet, there was a strange, deep peace in that moment. You trusted the driver, leaned your head against the cool glass of the window, and let go of the need to steer. You simply watched the world blur by, safe in the quiet cabin. Ancient philosophers known as the Stoics believed we can live our entire lives with this same sense of quiet trust. A thinker named Epictetus suggested that everything in our existence falls into two simple categories. Some things are up to us, and other things are not. The things we control are our own choices, our thoughts, our reactions, and how we treat the people around us. The things we cannot control include the weather, the actions of others, the past, the future, and the simple reality that our lives will one day end. Mortality is the ultimate road we did not pave, and it is a journey we cannot stop. Trying to control when or how we die is like trying to push away a rainstorm with your bare hands. It is exhausting, and it never works. We spend so much mental energy worrying about the end of the road, steering frantically in our minds, playing out scenarios, even though the wheel was never in our hands to begin with. When we fight against the natural flow of life and death, we are fighting gravity. We are wasting our precious strength on things that were decided long before we were born. There is a deep, comforting relief in realizing you are in the passenger seat of this vast universe. When you accept that you do not hold the wheel of mortality, the tension in your shoulders begins to fade. You do not have to carry the heavy burden of keeping the world spinning, nor do you have to guarantee your own permanence. Instead, you can focus on the small, beautiful space you do inhabit. You can focus on the warmth of the cabin, the soft music playing on the radio, and the conversation with the person sitting next to you. By letting go of the steering wheel, you finally gain the freedom to enjoy the ride. The Great Recycler. Imagine walking through a quiet autumn forest. Under your feet, the ground is soft and springy, cushioned by a thick carpet of copper and gold leaves that have recently fallen from the canopy. If you bend down and scoop up a handful of this dark earth, you are holding the tangible remains of the past. This soil is sweet, cool, and damp, built from countless seasons of fallen pine needles, old bark, and wildflowers that once reached for the summer sun. What looks like decay and loss is actually the active, vibrant engine of the forest. The forest floor is not a graveyard, but a busy kitchen where the future is being prepared. Deep beneath the surface, a hidden network of mycelium, those tiny white threads of fungi, reaches through the dark soil. They embrace the fallen branches and decaying wood, gently breaking them down and turning old trees into rich nourishment. This recycled energy flows directly back into the earth, feeding the roots of the giant pine trees towering high above you. Without the quiet collapse of the old forest giants, the young saplings would have no room to grow and no food to sustain them. Life does not stop when a tree falls. It simply changes its form. One day, our own physical bodies will participate in this exact same process. The atoms that make up our bones, our muscles, and our skin will return to the earth to feed the future biosphere. We are made of the same organic elements as the trees, the grass, and the soil, and we will perform the same vital service for the world that came before us. This is not a dark end, but a generous act of passing the biological baton to the next generation of living things. We are the compost of tomorrow, and that is a beautiful thing. Think of a garden that thrives year after year. The bright flowers of this spring grow direct compost of last year. We are part of this grand, continuous loop of renewal. By returning our physical self to the earth, we ensure that new flowers can bloom, new forests can grow, and new creatures can walk the earth. Our ending is the direct beginning of something else. We are not separate from nature, but a thread woven tightly into its fabric. We borrow our particles for a brief moment, and then we return them to the global pantry, allowing the great cycle of life to keep turning. But what if the mind, and not only the body, benefits from a clean slate? The gift of forgetfulness. Imagine waking up and remembering every single leaf on every tree you passed when you were 7 years old. Imagine remembering the exact shape of a cloud from a Tuesday afternoon 20 years ago, or the precise pattern of dust motes floating in a beam of light during a random moment in your childhood. In a short story by the Argentine writer Jorge Luis Borges, we meet a character named Ireneo Funes, who suffers from this exact condition. After a fall from a horse, his memory becomes limitless. He cannot forget anything he has ever seen or heard. A single day of memories takes him an entire day to recall, and the recall is just as detailed as the day itself. His mind becomes a crowded attic, filled with every tiny detail of his existence, leaving no space for original thoughts or quiet reflection. He is crushed under the weight of his own memory, unable to find peace. We often think of memory as a treasure, but forgetting is the actual mechanism that keeps us sane. Our brains are constantly pruning information. They discard the color of a stranger's shoes, the taste of a meal from last month, or the sound of traffic from yesterday morning, so we can focus on what matters. Forgetting is not a defect. It is a vital tool that clears the path for creativity, learning, and peace of mind. Without the ability to discard the trivial, our consciousness would be a swamp of useless details, making it impossible to move forward or make sense of the world. Now expand this idea to a cosmic scale. Imagine if you lived forever, carrying every single memory across thousands of years. Eventually, you would run out of new experiences. The universe would begin to repeat itself. You would remember every conversation you ever had, every sunset you ever watched, and every minor disappointment. An eternal life with an infinite memory would slowly turn into an unbearable mental prison. You would be trapped in a loop of your own history, unable to experience anything with fresh eyes. This is where the quiet promise of death becomes a comfort. It offers the ultimate clean slate. By letting go of our memories, we are relieved of a heavy backpack we have been carrying for decades. This clean slate is a form of mercy, ensuring that the universe does not get cluttered with infinite personal histories. It allows the blackboard to be wiped clean, leaving behind only the quiet stillness that existed before we arrived. We do not need to carry our stories forever. The universe remembers for us, and we are finally allowed to rest in the gentle quiet of having forgotten everything. The illusion of ownership. Take a moment to feel the breath entering your lungs right now. It is a simple, quiet action. You pull the air inside, hold it for a brief second, and let it go. It feels like your breath. It feels like something you own. Yet, the air you just breathed was drifting through the trees outside only moments ago. Tomorrow, it will be high in the clouds, carrying rain to a distant forest. That breath is not yours to keep. You are merely borrowing it from the sky. The sky asks for it back, and you give it away without a second thought. You do this thousands of times every single day, never feeling robbed, never feeling like you have lost something precious. You understand, on a deep level, that the air must flow. Our entire life works in this exact same way. We tend to walk through the world with a strong sense of ownership. We say, my hands, my mind, my life. But if we pay closer attention, we find that we are renters rather than owners. The ancient philosopher Seneca talked about this idea 2,000 years ago. He suggested that life is like a loaned item. When you are born, the universe hands you a collection of materials. You receive a beating heart, a bundle of nerves, and a stream of conscious thoughts. You did not buy these things. You did not sign a contract to own them forever. They were simply handed to you on loan, with no fixed end date. The lender can request them back at any moment, without needing to give a reason. This does not mean the lender is cruel. It is simply the nature of the arrangement. When we contemplate life through this lens, the way we experience loss begins to shift. Think about how you feel when a friend lends you a favorite book. You take it home, you place it on your shelf, and you spend quiet evenings reading its pages. You enjoy the story, but you never forget that the book belongs to someone else. When your friend eventually asks for it back, you do not get angry. You do not feel like you have been treated unfairly. Instead, you hand the book back and say, "Thank you for the time you had to enjoy it." In fact, you feel a sense of warmth, knowing that another person will soon turn those same pages and experience the same story you did. If we can treat our very existence as a borrowed book, the prospect of letting it go becomes much softer. The body you inhabit, the thoughts you think, and the people you love are all temporary loans from the cosmos. We did not create the atoms that make up our bones, and we will not keep them when we are gone. They are on loan from the earth, and one day the earth will ask for them to be returned so they can become something else. This realization does not make life less valuable. In fact, it makes every moment far more precious. When you know you do not own the sunset, you appreciate its colors even more, because you know they will fade in minutes. You appreciate your hands, the people around you, and the world outside your window with a sense of deep gratitude. You realize that you are a guest here, invited to experience this strange and beautiful universe for a little while. You do not try to take the room home with you when your stay at an inn is over. You simply enjoy the comfort of the bed, the warmth of the fire, and the quietness of the room while you are there. When the time comes to return what we have borrowed, it is not a punishment. It is simply the natural completion of the agreement. We close the book, grateful for the chapters we were allowed to read, and we hand it back to the library. We let go of the breath we have been holding, allowing it to return to the wide open sky. The sleep analogy. Let us think about that quiet moment right before you drift off to sleep. You are lying in bed. The blankets are warm, and you willingly let go of your thoughts. Your eyes grow heavy. The worries of the afternoon begin to lose their sharp edges, fading into a soft blur. You do not fight this feeling. Instead, you welcome the heavy stillness in your body, trusting that it is safe to disappear for a little while. You do not ask where your awareness goes, nor do you try to hold on to the waking world. You let yourself slide into the quiet, trusting that the universe will hold your place while you are gone. Every single night of our lives, we perform this gentle surrender. Think of how natural this feels. We do not struggle against the tide of sleep. We welcome it. We prepare our pillows and pull up the sheets, eager to slip away from the demands of the day. We close our eyes and allow our awareness to drift away. The mind steps down from its busy guard post, releasing its hold on the world. We do not worry about what will happen to our identity when we are asleep. We do not panic about losing control of our thoughts. We simply trust the darkness, letting ourselves sink into the quiet. Consider the hours you spend in a deep, dreamless slumber. There is no pain in that space. There is no sadness, no regret, and no anxiety. When you are deeply asleep, you do not feel lonely. You do not lie in the middle of a dreamless night wishing you were awake. You are simply at peace, resting in a quiet realm where the self does not need to carry any weight at all. We do not fear this state when we climb into bed. In fact, we seek it out. We anticipate it as the ultimate comfort after a long day of effort and noise. We can approach the end of life through this same window. It is a deeper, uninterrupted version of the very rest we welcome every single night. It is the ultimate quiet. There is no suffering in that quiet, just as there is no suffering in the hours of midnight before your alarm rings. It is a return to the peaceful stillness that existed before we were born. By seeing it as a long, undisturbed rest, we can find comfort in the thought of letting go. We are simply drifting off, turning off the lights, and allowing the mind to finally find its perfect, lasting peace. The stage play. Let us think back to the words of the ancient philosopher Epictetus, who suggested that we are all actors in a play written by a master playwright. Some of us are assigned short roles, while others play characters that remain on stage for a very long time. We do not choose the length of the performance, nor do we choose the role we are given. Our only task is to play the assigned part as beautifully and sincerely as we can. Think about a truly great play or movie. A story does not need to last for 12 hours to leave a deep mark on our hearts. A short, 90-minute drama can be absolutely flawless, moving us to tears and changing how we view our own lives. If that same story dragged on forever, the magic would dissolve. The tension would fade, the characters would run out of things to say, and the audience would grow restless. It is the boundary, the simple knowledge that the curtain will eventually fall, that gives every single line its weight and beauty. In this life, we find ourselves cast in roles we did not ask for. We might be parents, teachers, builders, or quiet observers. Instead of worrying about how long our character stays on stage, we can focus on how we deliver our lines right now. We can choose to play our parts with integrity, filling our brief interactions with genuine kindness and active presence. When you speak to a friend, you can be fully there, listening as if their words are the only script that matters. When you do your daily work, you can do it with care, pouring your attention into the present moment. We can think of our individual lives as a single performance on a very grand stage. The scenery changes around us, and other actors enter and exit our lives. Some scenes are filled with laughter and bright music, while others are quiet, intimate, and somber. Every scene contributes to the overall beauty of the production. Every seasoned actor knows that a play cannot exist without an ending. The final act is not a failure of the story. It is the natural completion of the design. When our exit cue arrives, we can step off the stage with grace. We do not need to fight the final curtain call. We can simply take a bow, knowing we played our part well in this grand drama. The beauty was found in the warmth we shared while the lights were on, rather than how long we stood under the spotlight. The River of Heraclitus. Think of a rushing mountain stream, its waters swirling and shifting shape every microsecond. If you dip your hand into the cool flow and then pull it out, only to dip it back in a moment later, did you touch the same water? An ancient Greek philosopher named Heraclitus argued that you did not. He famously noted that you cannot step into the same river twice. By the time your foot meets the water again, new currents have swept the old ones away. The river has changed, and so have you. You are a slightly different person than you were just a moment ago, shaped by the experience of that first touch. Your thoughts moving like the water itself. We often think of ourselves as solid, unchanging things, like stones sitting on the riverbed. But the reality is that we are much more like the water itself. We are a continuous process, a flow of experiences, thoughts, and physical transformations. From the day we are born, we are in a constant state of becoming. The child you once were does not exist anymore, except as a memory. The teenager you were is gone. Those past versions of you died to make way for the person sitting here right now, yet we do not mourn their passing. We see it as growth. When we resist this flow, we create our own suffering. We try to build walls in the river, hoping to hold onto a single bucket of water, keeping it still and unchanging. But water that does not move becomes stagnant. Peace comes when we learn to flow with the current, accepting that change is not the enemy of life, but the very essence of it. If we view our existence through this lens, death ceases to look like a sudden, violent break in our story. Instead, it becomes the natural conclusion of a lifelong process of transformation. It is the final, quiet transition of the wave returning to the larger body of water. We have been changing every single day of our lives, letting go of old selves, old thoughts, and old selves. Death is simply the moment this process of letting go becomes complete, allowing our elements to join the wider flow of the universe. But if everything changes and fades, what happens to the monuments and names we leave behind? The Relief of Anonymity. Think about the bustling streets of ancient Rome over 2,000 years ago. In the quiet hours before dawn, a baker would wake up, light a small oil lamp, and begin kneading dough for the morning crowd. Nearby, a builder would walk to a construction site, ready to spend the day lifting heavy blocks of stone to create a grand archway. In a quiet corner of a shared room, a young poet might sit, scribbling lines of verse on a wax tablet, hoping to capture a fleeting feeling before the sun rose. These people walked the very same earth we walk today. They felt the cold winter air, they laughed with their friends, and they worried about their families. Yet, today, their names have vanished entirely. The buildings remain, but the hands that carved the stone are nameless. The poems may have inspired later writers, but the writer is gone. Thousands of lives, each one as rich and complex as your own, have been completely forgotten by history. This fading of memory is due to a natural force we can call temporal distance. When we look back at the past, we see that time acts like a gentle wave, slowly smoothing out the sharp edges of history. In the beginning, a person is remembered by their children and friends. A generation passes, and perhaps a grandchild remembers a story or a photograph. But as the decades turn into centuries, the memory grows faint, like a whisper in a crowded room. Eventually, even the grandest names, the kings, the queens, and the celebrated heroes, fade into the background of time. If you zoom out far enough, even the names of our current world leaders and famous artists will eventually disappear into the quiet dark of the universe. When we first realize this, it might feel a little cold. But if you sit with this thought for a moment, you will find it brings a profound sense of peace. The eventual loss of our names is actually a wonderful gift. It means that the intense pressure we put on ourselves to perform, to succeed, and to build a monument out of our lives is entirely unnecessary. You do not have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You do not need to justify your existence by achieving greatness or making sure your name is written in history books. You do not need to create a lasting legacy to prove that your life mattered. Instead, you are given the quiet freedom to live a small, cozy, and deeply personal life. You can live simply for the sake of experiencing the world. You can find joy in the taste of a fresh piece of bread, the warmth of the sun on your face, or the simple comfort of a soft blanket at the end of a long day. You can focus on being kind to the few people around you, rather than trying to impress a distant future that you will never see. Your life does not have to be a grand stage play performed for a massive audience. It can be a quiet conversation in a small room. The universe does not demand that you leave a permanent mark. It simply invites you to exist, to feel, and to appreciate the short time you have here. In the end, we all return to the same quiet anonymity, and in that shared destination, there is absolute freedom. The ultimate equalizer. Remember the old Italian proverb, when the game is over, the king and the pawn go back into the same box. Think about a chessboard for a moment. During the game, each piece has a specific value. The king holds the highest position, surrounded by knights, bishops, and castles, while the simple pawns stand in the front line, taking the brunt of the battle. We build our society in a very similar way. We create ladders, invent titles, and assign value to people based on their wealth, their power, or the influence they hold over others. We spend so much energy trying to climb higher, trying to prove that we are more important than the person next to us. We build tall towers and gather fine possessions to set ourselves apart. But when the board is cleared, the wooden pieces do not carry their titles into the dark. The hand that cleans up the game does not care about the rules of play. It sweeps the carved royalty and the humble soldiers together, side by side, into the velvet lining of the box. Once inside, the gold paint of the king touches the simple wood of the pawn, and they rest together in the silence. This is the great leveling force of nature. Death is completely blind to the systems we build. It does not look at bank accounts, and it does not respect crowns. The most powerful ruler who ever lived, and the quietest soul who walked the earth, share the exact same ending. They return to the same soil, under the same sky, subject to the exact same physical laws. The particles that once made up a great leader will mix with the dust of the valley, and the universe makes no distinction between them. For those who carry heavy burdens, this is a comforting thought. The hierarchies that make life difficult, the unfair divisions of class and status, are temporary. They are fragile human inventions. No matter how high someone climbs, they cannot buy their way out of the human condition. The wealthy man and the poor man meet as equals in the silence of the earth. This universal democracy of nature is peaceful. It reminds us that our artificial differences are small and temporary. We are all walking the same path, heading toward the same quiet destination. When we realize this, the urge to compete fades away. We can treat each other with gentleness, knowing that we are all equals in the eyes of the universe. No human system can disrupt this balance. We are simply travelers sharing a brief journey, before we all return home together to the quiet earth that welcomed us at the start. The horizon line. Imagine standing on a vast, quiet beach late in the afternoon. The air is cool. The gentle sound of the waves repeats a slow rhythm, and the sand feels solid beneath your feet. Far out, where the deep blue water meets the sky, there is a clear, straight line. It appears to be a physical edge, a place where the world ends and a vast void begins. If a sailboat travels toward that line, it seems to slowly slip over the edge, fading from view until it is completely gone. Yet, we know that if we were traveling on that sailboat, we would never actually reach a physical wall. We would not suddenly fall off the edge of the earth, nor would we crash into the sky. The horizon is not a real barrier. It is simply a boundary of our perception. It is the furthest point our eyes can reach from where we are standing on the shore. As the boat moves forward, the horizon moves with it, always keeping its distance and opening up new stretches of ocean that were previously hidden from our view. In many ways, death is like that distant line on the water. We often treat it as a solid black wall, a dark room where everything stops and we are trapped in emptiness. But it is more helpful to see it as the horizon of our awareness. It marks the outer limit of what we can experience from this specific human vantage point. It is the boundary where our subjective view of this life ends, but it is not a physical space we enter to be held captive or kept in darkness. Just as the ocean continues far past the point where our eyes can no longer follow it, the universe goes on. The horizon does not destroy the water, it only defines where our current sight runs out. When we view our end as a natural boundary of perspective rather than a wall, the fear starts to soften. The boundary does not crush our spirit. Instead, it gives shape to our journey, making this present moment feel more grounded. It reminds us that our field of vision is quiet, focused, and precious because it has a limit. We do not need to see beyond the edge to appreciate the beauty of the water right in front of us. The horizon is simply where the earth curves away, leaving us to enjoy the light on the waves we can see. The Unwritten Tomorrow. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. The room is quiet, the air is cool, and the first light of dawn creeps slowly through the window. You open your eyes and realize that this day is a unique, unpromised gift. You have no absolute guarantee of another 24 hours. There is no contract signed with the universe that ensures you will see the sunset or wake up again the next day. This uncertainty is not a threat. It is the very thing that keeps our daily lives from becoming a dull, endless routine. When the future is not guaranteed, the present is no longer a given. If we knew we had exactly 80 years to live, every single day would feel like a predictable step on a prearranged track. We would put off our passions and our kind words, thinking we always have plenty of time tomorrow. We would let the days blur together in a grey haze of comfortable habit. But we do not know the hour of our departure. The expiration date is hidden from us. This mystery acts as a powerful psychological spark. It prevents the world from turning into a boring grind. Every morning becomes a clean slate, a fresh page that has never been written on before, filled with possibilities. The ancient philosophers practiced a technique called memento mori, which translates to remembering that you must die. They did not do this to frighten themselves or to dwell in darkness. Instead, they used this reminder to wash away trivial complaints and modern anxieties. When you realize that your time is limited, the minor annoyances of the day begin to dissolve. Traffic jams, spilled coffee, and small disagreements lose their power over your mind. They are simply too small to occupy the precious space of a day that might be your last. A beautiful clarity comes when you stop taking the next hour for granted. You notice the people you love with more attention, listening to their voices as if hearing them for the first time. You feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, or notice the quiet pattern of the rain against the glass. The current moment is no longer a stepping stone to some future event. It becomes valuable in its own right because it is the only slice of reality you truly possess. Uncertainty forces us to wake up to the immediate world around us, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. How likely was it that you would be here to experience this uncertainty in the first place? The Symphony of Chance. Imagine sitting in a quiet room, listening to the soft tick of a clock. Every second that passes is a small tick in a grand, silent lottery. To understand the sheer scale of your presence here, consider the math. The odds of your specific genetic combination coming together are about 1 in 400 trillion. This calculation includes the long, unbroken line of your ancestors, the specific moment your parents met, and the precise matching of genes that formed you. You are the result of a chain of events that had to go perfectly right over millions of years for you to be here today. That number is so vast that it is hard to hold in the mind. 1 in 400 trillion. To put that in perspective, imagine a giant bucket filled with 400 trillion white marbles, and only one single golden marble hidden somewhere deep inside. Now imagine reaching in, blindfolded, and pulling out that single golden marble on your very first try. That is the lottery you won, simply by being born. You did more than beat the odds. You achieved something that was, statistically speaking, almost impossible. When we think about our lives, we often focus on the challenges, the daily routines, and the inevitable ending that awaits us all. It is easy to feel a sense of sadness or fear when we think about the fact that our time here is temporary. But when you consider the math, a different perspective begins to form. Imagine winning a massive lottery jackpot, a fortune so large that you could never spend it all. If you won that jackpot, it would feel strange to spend your days complaining that the money will eventually run out. Instead, you would likely feel a deep sense of gratitude and excitement for the wealth you were given, even if it could not last forever. Our existence is the jackpot. We did not pay an entry fee, and we did not do anything to earn our place in this world. We were simply handed this brief, glowing moment of awareness. When we complain about the fact that life must end, we are acting like the lottery winner who is angry that the money is not infinite. We forget the astronomical odds we overcame just to stand here, under the stars, breathing the air of this planet. Perhaps the real shift in our thinking comes when we move our attention away from the sadness of leaving and focus instead on the sheer wonder of having arrived at all. You are a unique collection of stardust that has come together for a brief moment in the history of the universe. For billions of years before you were born, the universe went on without you. For billions of years after you leave, it will continue. But right now, in this tiny window of time, you are here. You get to feel the warmth of the sun, hear the sound of rain, and experience the complex, beautiful tapestry of human emotion. The fact that this experience is brief does not make it less valuable. In fact, it is the very rarity of our lives that makes them precious. If we lived forever, the moments would lose their shine. The temporary nature of our existence is what gives every conversation, every sunset, and every breath its quiet power. You are a participant in a grand symphony of chance, a beautiful accident of the cosmos. When the music eventually fades, we do not need to be angry that the song has ended. Instead, we can simply be glad that we were here to hear the music. The Museum of the Universe. Imagine stepping into a quiet museum on a rainy afternoon. You walk through the grand rooms, gazing at the beautiful paintings on the walls and the ancient artifacts resting under soft lights. You admire the brushstrokes of a landscape created hundreds of years ago. You stand in front of a stone sculpture, marveling at how the artist captured the fold of fabric in solid rock. When the bells chime to signal that the museum is closing, you walk toward the exit. You do not feel sad or angry as you step out into the evening air. You do not feel like you have lost anything, because you never expected to pack those paintings into your bag and take them home. You simply enjoyed the opportunity to admire them. We can bring this same gentle attitude to our journey through the wider cosmos. Think of the stars in the night sky, the ancient trees in a deep forest, or even the people who walk alongside us for a time. We are here as appreciative tourists. Our role is to witness the exhibits, to appreciate their beauty, and to feel the wonder of their existence. When we watch a brilliant sunset, we do not try to capture it or store it in a box. We watch the colors fade into twilight, grateful that we were there to see it happen. This shift in perspective brings a quiet sense of peace. We stop trying to hold on to things that were never meant to be kept. Instead of feeling like owners who are constantly threatened by loss, we become visitors who are simply glad to be here. We can love a mountain, a melody, or a friend without needing to possess them. We realize that our time here is a brief walk through the most magnificent gallery ever created. The trees and the stars will remain long after we are gone, and that is a comforting thought. We were allowed to walk these halls, to admire the art, and to be part of the display. When our visit comes to an end, we can step out of the door with a quiet heart, grateful for the beautiful things we were permitted to see. The Burden of Immortality. Recall an ancient story from Greece, the tale of Tithonus. He was a mortal man who fell in love with Eos, the goddess of the dawn. Eos, wishing to spend forever with her lover, begged the king of the gods to grant Tithonus eternal life. The request was granted. However, in her excitement, Eos made a mistake. She asked for him to live forever, but she forgot to ask for him to remain forever young. As the centuries passed, Tithonus grew older and weaker. His body bent under the weight of years, and his voice became a dry whisper, like the rustling of dry leaves in the autumn wind. He was trapped in an endless decay, wishing only for the quiet release of death, a release that would never come. This myth points to a deep intuition we often overlook when we dream of living forever. We tend to think of immortality as a permanent youth, a never-ending summer where our bodies and minds remain forever sharp. But if we peel back the layers of that fantasy, we find a heavy weight. Think about the physical and existential weariness that would accumulate over 1,000 years, or 10,000, or even 1,000,000. Our joints might hold up, but our spirits would begin to sag under the sheer duration of being. When we consider a human life, we often think of the mind as a vessel. But even if the mind could hold infinite memories, the sheer weight of existence would begin to press down on us. The weariness of eternal life is not simply about forgetting things. It is about the loss of freshness. Consider reading your favorite book for the 10th time. It still has charm. Now think of reading it for the 10,000th time. The words would lose their spark. The narrative would lose its tension. Every conversation would feel like an echo of a conversation you had 5 centuries ago. Every sunrise would feel like a repeat of 1,000,000,000 sunrises before. Without an ending, our experiences lose their shape. A song needs silence at the end to be a song, rather than an endless drone that eventually blends into background noise. A story needs a final page to give the journey meaning, a moment where the threads are tied and the book can be closed. Death is the frame around the painting of our lives. It defines where the art begins and where it ends, allowing us to appreciate the colors within. Without that boundary, the canvas would stretch out forever, fading into a gray smudge of repetition where no single stroke of paint carries any value. Existential weariness would slowly drain our motivation. Why start a project today when you have an eternity of tomorrows? The pressure to act, to love, to create, and to connect comes from the knowledge that our time is limited. It is the ticking of the clock that coaxes us out of bed, that urges us to tell someone we love them, that drives us to build things that outlast us. Remove the clock, and the drive to do anything fades away. We would become like Tithonus, drifting through the centuries, heavy with the dust of ages, waiting for a pause that never arrives. In this light, death is not a thief that steals our days. It is a shelter. It is a quiet room at the end of a long, busy day. Just as sleep restores our bodies and gives us a break from the noise of the world, death is the ultimate rest that protects us from the exhausting weight of eternity. It ensures that our lives remain a vivid, singular experience rather than a slow, dragging fade. We can find peace in knowing that our journey has a natural destination, a place where we can finally lay down our burdens, close our eyes, and rest. The wave and the ocean. Imagine a wave rising from the surface of a vast, deep ocean, surrounded by endless blue. As it climbs higher, it looks around and notices all the other waves surrounding it. Some are taller, others are smaller, and each seems to have its own unique shape and speed. This individual wave begins to feel a sense of pride in its height, or perhaps fear of the moment it will begin to decline and lose its prominent place. It believes it is a distinct, separate entity, fighting against the wind and the currents, trying to hold its form. It dreads the day it will crash against the shore or sink back down, believing that collapse represents its absolute end. The late teacher Thich Nhat Hanh used this image to explain the nature of our existence. He described how the wave might look at other waves with jealousy or sadness, forgetting its true nature. He pointed out that the wave is, and has always been, nothing but water. It does not need to search for water, nor does it lose anything when it sinks back into the depths. The wave does not actually disappear. It simply stops being a wave for a moment, returning to the vast, quiet sea from which it arose. Its essence remains entirely unchanged, resting in the deep. We often live our lives with the same misunderstanding as that solitary wave. The human mind builds a strong sense of a separate self, an ego that feels isolated from the rest of the natural world. We view our birth as a sudden beginning, and our death as a terrifying end. But this separation is a trick of perspective. We are not visitors who were thrown into this universe from somewhere else. Every atom in your body was forged in the hearts of dying stars billions of years ago, cycling through countless forms before becoming you. Instead of a separate piece, you are a wave of cosmic energy that has taken a temporary human shape. We are the universe observing itself. When we look at our lives through this lens, the fear of death begins to soften. Your passing is a gentle return rather than a destruction of your essence. The water does not die when the wave dissolves. It merely changes shape, finding peace in the deep stillness of the ocean floor, joining the silent currents below. By letting go of the need to remain a separate wave forever, you can find comfort in knowing that you are, and always have been, the entire, vast ocean. The shadow of death. Consider the feeling of holding a warm ceramic mug filled with hot tea while standing outside on a freezing afternoon. The air is so cold that your breath forms white clouds, and your boots are sinking into the snow. The biting cold is sharp on your cheeks. Yet, as you take a sip, the warmth of the tea spreading through your chest feels deeply comforting. If it were a mild summer day, that same cup of tea would feel ordinary, perhaps even unnoticeable. The intense pleasure of the warmth is created entirely by the presence of the cold. This is how contrast works in our minds. In psychology, we notice that comfort is felt most deeply when we are aware of discomfort. A soft bed feels like heaven after a long, exhausting walk in the cold rain. A quiet room brings immense peace only after we have spent hours in a noisy, crowded street. Without the shadow of the difficult experience, the pleasant one loses its flavor. We need the contrast to fully wake up to the good things in front of us. We can apply this exact pattern to our own lives. The knowledge that our time here is limited acts like that winter cold. It is the dark backdrop that makes the bright moments of our daily lives stand out. When we accept that our days are numbered, the ordinary details of living begin to glow. The soft morning light filtering through the window is no longer just another start to a workday. It becomes a rare and beautiful event. The taste of fresh bread, the sound of rain tapping against the glass, and the simple, warm touch of a hand become sweet. They are no longer routine events. They are unique experiences. Instead of running away from the thought of our end, we can welcome it as a helper. Death is far from a threat to the beauty of life. It is the very reason we find it beautiful. It is the shadow that allows us to see the light. By holding this awareness gently in our minds, we stop taking our moments for granted. We begin to taste our food, feel the warmth of our blankets, and listen to the voices of our loved ones with a quiet focus. Every small sensation becomes a gift, wrapped in the knowledge that it will not last forever. The awareness of our own ending gently urges us to return to the present. In this way, the shadow of our end does not darken our path. It illuminates it, making every step we take feel rich and alive. The false alarm of pain. Let us take a moment to ask ourselves a very quiet question. What is it that we actually fear when we think about our end? Are we truly afraid of the state of being dead, or are we afraid of the physical journey of getting there? Often, we bundle these two very different concepts into a single heavy cloud of anxiety. But when we consider them separately, that cloud begins to clear away. The state of being dead is a quiet harbor. It is the complete and absolute absence of any sensation, including discomfort. The transition, however, is a physical process, and that is where our instinctual fear usually grips us. We associate dying with pain because our bodies are wired to use pain as a helpful alarm system to keep us safe. When we scrape a knee or touch a hot stove, pain shouts to get our attention. We naturally project this familiar alarm system onto our final moments, imagining a long crescendo of physical distress. We dread the physical struggle rather than the quiet that follows it. Yet, this is where we confuse the signal with the destination. The physical transition is a bridge, and modern medicine has become exceptionally good at making that bridge soft, gentle, and quiet. In our modern world, we have dedicated entire fields of care to ensuring that the physical journey is peaceful. The discomfort that our biological instincts warn us about can be calmed, hushed, and managed with great precision. The biological alarm system, which served us so well for so many decades, is allowed to finally rest and turn off. And once we cross that bridge, we reach a state where pain cannot exist. If pain is simply a signal sent by a living brain, then the absence of that brain means the absolute end of all discomfort. It is a state of total, undisturbed relief. In this way, the fear of the end is often a false alarm. It is a misdirected worry about a physical process that we can soothe, rather than a reflection of what awaits us. We are worrying about the storm when we are actually heading toward a calm, silent sea where no waves can reach us. In that deep water, there is no temperature, no pressure, and no tension. Only rest. As we let this realization settle into our minds, we can begin to view our lives in a new light. Rather than stopping abruptly, our lives flow as a gentle transition. How do our lives resemble the changing of the seasons, rather than a sudden, tragic break? The changing seasons. The red and gold leaves of an oak tree fall quietly to the cold ground in late November. The branches do not fight the wind. They do not cling to their summer colors. Instead, they let go, letting the wind carry their heavy cloaks away. There is a deep, quiet wisdom in this surrender. The tree understands that to live, it must also rest. It must let the cold season arrive. We often think of our own lives as if we should always remain in the bright warmth of July. We want to keep the energy of youth forever. We strive to maintain the constant bloom of summer, believing that any sign of autumn is a failure. We hide our gray hair, we run from our fatigue, and we treat aging as an enemy at the gates. But this struggle creates a painful friction inside us. Trying to force a tree to bloom in the snow would only kill it. There is a proper time for everything. Youth is a sudden spring, full of green shoots and wild, unpredictable storms. We grow, we reach, and we test our limits. Then comes maturity, the long summer where we bear fruit and stand strong in the heat. It is a time of action and building. But summer cannot last forever. If it did, the earth would dry up and crack. The harvest must come, and with it, the quiet arrival of autumn. Aging is simply our own autumn. It is the time when the light softens and the rush of growth slows down. Our colors change. We become wiser, more reflective, and less burdened by the need to constantly produce. This transition is not a mistake. It is an orderly, beautiful progression. When we resist it, we miss the unique beauty of this phase. We miss the quiet clarity that only comes when the noise of youth begins to fade. Winter is the final season. It is the period of complete rest and quiet reflection. Just as the forest floor needs the winter snow to sleep and replenish, we too need a natural boundary to our efforts. Death is not a sudden interruption of our story. It is the quiet winter that follows a long and successful harvest. It completes the circle. It clears the stage, making room for new life to begin its own spring. By accepting this flow, we find a sense of ease. We can let go of the struggle, knowing we are part of an ancient, balanced rhythm. The Library of Babel. Hold a favorite book in your hands. Feel the cool texture of the cover and the weight of the pages remaining on the right side. As you turn each leaf, the stack on the left grows thicker while the stack on the right thins out. There is a quiet, rhythmic comfort in this movement. You know that the story is moving toward a destination, a point where all the threads will come together. Every plot, every character arc, and every ounce of emotional weight in that book relies on the existence of a final chapter. The protagonist faces a choice, perhaps a difficult decision to leave home, to speak a difficult truth, or to forgive an old friend. That choice matters because the pages are running out. There is a limited amount of space for the character to change, to find peace, or to make amends. The countdown of the remaining pages gives every sentence its urgency and its beauty. We care about the struggle because we know it cannot go on forever. If a book had infinite pages, the entire experience would fall apart. Imagine opening a novel and realizing that no matter how far you read, the stack of paper on the right side never shrinks. You read for days, then weeks, and then years. The characters walk down endless paths, making choices that can always be undone. If they make a major mistake, they have 1,000,000 more pages to correct it. If they fall in love, they have an eternity to grow tired of it, to drift apart, and to wander away. A story that never ends eventually loses its shape. It turns into white noise, a soft drone of words where nothing can ever truly matter, because there is always more room to try again. Without a final page, there is no climax, no resolution, and no meaning. The narrative simply dissolves into a grey mist of endless possibilities. We can reframe your life as a unique narrative that earns its beauty through its resolution. We often struggle with the idea that our time is short, yet this very limit is what makes our decisions hold weight. When you choose to spend a warm summer afternoon sitting under a tree with a friend, that choice carries weight because you cannot do everything. You have sacrificed a piece of your limited time for that specific moment, for that specific laugh, and that shared silence. If you had an infinite number of afternoons, the gesture would lose its value. You could always do it later, next year, or in 10,000 years. The limit makes the present moment rare, and rarity gives it beauty. We can think of our existence as a unique narrative being written in real time. The knowledge of the final chapter does not ruin the pages we are currently reading. Instead, it invites us to pay closer attention to the words. It encourages us to appreciate the current paragraph, the gentle description of the wind, the warm conversation over breakfast, and the quiet spaces between the sentences. Each day is a page turned, a step closer to the end, but also a necessary part of the whole design. We do not read a book simply to reach the last word. If that were the case, we would skip to the end immediately. We read to experience the journey, to feel the rise and fall of the narrative, and to live inside the world the author created. The ending is not a punishment for the book existing. The ending is what allows the book to be a complete work of art. By accepting the limit of the pages, we can appreciate the story for what it is. A singular, beautiful arc that shines brightly because it does not go on forever. It is the boundary that gives the shape, and the shape is what we love. The Solace of Entropy. Think of a single bead of blue ink falling into a tall glass of warm water. At first, the blue sits in a tight, concentrated ball. But slowly, without any help from you, the color begins to spread. It curls into quiet ribbons, branching out in every direction, until the water is a single, uniform shade of pale blue. The ink never gathers itself back into a drop. It cannot. This gentle fading is the work of a fundamental rule of our universe, which physicists call the second law of thermodynamics. It is the simple idea that systems naturally move from order to disorder. Every organized structure in the cosmos eventually softens and spreads out. A castle of sand on the beach melts back into the shore. A warm cup of tea cools down to match the temperature of the room. Stars burn through their fuel and disperse their dust across the dark void. This process is called entropy. We often think of this drift toward disorder as a kind of decay or loss, but we can also view it as a form of relief. To build anything and to keep it together requires constant effort. Right now, your body is working very hard. Your cells are burning fuel, pumping liquids, and repairing walls just to keep you in one piece. Your mind is actively sorting thoughts, holding on to memories, and maintaining a sense of self. It takes a massive, continuous investment of energy to resist the natural pull of the universe. We are, in a sense, holding our breath, swimming upstream against a gentle but unstoppable current. It is exhausting, even if we do not always feel the fatigue. When we die, that effort stops. The constant work of holding ourselves together is finally done. We do not break down in a tragic way. Rather, we simply align with the natural law that guides every star and galaxy. We stop resisting the flow. The energy that made up our thoughts and our warmth is released back into the wider world, spreading out just like that drop of blue ink in the warm water. There is a deep peace in realizing that we do not have to fight this current forever. We are allowed to let go. Returning to the earth, dissolving back into the quiet background of the cosmos, is not a failure of life. It is the natural resting state of all things. By accepting entropy, we find comfort in knowing that our dissolution is simply a return to the soft, disordered cradle of the universe, where we finally match the temperature of everything around us. The unburdened mind. You do not need to leave a lasting footprint in the sands of time to justify your walk on the beach. Many of us carry a quiet, heavy worry that our lives must somehow echo into the deep future. We feel a pressure to build monuments of achievement, to write our names on buildings, or to ensure that generations we will never meet will speak of us. This deep drive to be remembered forever can feel like a noble quest, but it often acts as a heavy weight. It is an anchor that keeps us from floating freely in the present moment. When we constantly look forward to how we will be perceived by history, we are not fully here. We miss the warmth of the sun on our skin today because we are so busy worrying about how cold our grave might be tomorrow. Consider the energy we spend trying to secure a legacy. We work long hours, build elaborate public personas, and stress over our achievements. We act as if we are writing a book that the universe will keep on its main shelf forever. But when we let go of this desire to be permanent, a wonderful shift happens. The pressure vanishes. We realize that we are visitors, not builders who must construct eternal cities. We can enjoy the details of the room we are sitting in, the taste of a warm drink, and the sound of wind outside. We can focus on the people right in front of us, rather than an imaginary audience in the distant future. Releasing the goal of a grand legacy brings a deep sense of relief. It allows us to live with an unburdened mind. We no longer need to justify our existence through permanent markers. Instead, we can simply experience the world. Think of a guest at a lovely dinner party. A good guest does not try to carve their name into the host's wooden table to prove they were there. They simply enjoy the food, laugh with the other guests, and say a quiet thank you when it is time to leave. We can be that gentle guest in this life. We can choose to leave no heavy tracks, only small, warm memories in the hearts of those we touched. In this lightness, we find a beautiful, quiet freedom. We are free to simply exist, to listen, and to be at peace with our brief, lovely time under the stars. The silent partner. Imagine an empty chair sitting right next to you. It is pulled up close, perhaps just a few inches away. In that chair sits a quiet companion, a presence that has traveled with you since the day you were born. This companion is death, waiting patiently, behaving like a silent partner rather than a figure with a scythe or a dark hood. If you turn your awareness toward that chair, you feel a sudden sense of stillness. This presence does not speak in words. Instead, it offers a gentle, wordless perspective on everything you do, acting as a quiet guide that remains with you through every season of life. When we realize our days are limited, we can choose to invite this partner into our daily decisions. Rather than feeling sad or afraid, we can use this awareness as a helpful counselor. Imagine bringing this companion along to your morning routine, your commute, or your evening walk. When you face a difficult choice or feel the heat of anger rising, you can focus on the empty chair. Instantly, the presence of your silent partner changes the temperature of the room. It acts as a filter, clearing away the noise of the world and leaving behind only what is essential. Think about the small arguments that sometimes occupy your mind. A minor slight from a colleague, a slow driver on the road, or a disagreement about who should wash the dishes. When you view these moments alongside your quiet companion, they seem to shrink. The anger fades, replaced by a soft understanding. You find it easier to let go of the need to be right. The drive to accumulate more than you need, the urge to win every small battle, and the worry over minor details all lose their grip on you. In their place, your silent partner highlights what is truly valuable. It points toward kindness, quiet moments of peace, and the warmth of connecting with someone you care about. A simple cup of tea, the sound of rain against the window, or a genuine conversation with a friend becomes deeply rich. By keeping this presence close, you find a source of steady wisdom. It keeps you grounded in what is real and helps you live with a lighter heart. The fear of the end transforms into a guide for the present. The shadow becomes a friend. But as you sit with this companion, another question begins to form. What if the boundary between you and this silent partner is not as clear as you think? The illusion of separation. Recall the words of the philosopher Alan Watts, who suggested that we do not come into this world. Instead, we come out of it, in the very same way that leaves come out of a tree or fruit comes out of a branch. For most of our lives, we carry a quiet, persistent feeling that we are isolated visitors. We feel like a small, vulnerable center of consciousness, locked inside a bag of skin, looking out at a cold, foreign universe that is separate from us. This sense of a separate ego is the source of our deepest anxieties. We worry about our boundary lines, about where we end and where the rest of the world begins. We fear that when this physical container breaks, we will be completely extinguished, cast out from existence. But this boundary is a trick of the mind. We draw lines on a map to divide countries, yet the land remains one continuous surface. In the same way, we draw mental lines around our bodies and call ourselves separate. Between the environment and our bodies, there is a constant, invisible exchange. Every breath we take draws in the outside world, and every exhale releases our inner world back into the open space. We cannot exist without the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is shaped by the life within it. Our skin is not a wall that keeps the world out. It is a bridge where we meet the world. Think about an apple tree. The tree grows branches, leaves, and eventually apples. We do not look at an apple and think it is a stranger that suddenly arrived on the tree from another place. We recognize that the apple is an expression of the tree itself. It is the tree doing what a tree does. In the very same way, human beings are the earth doing what the earth does. We are the universe, growing people, just as trees grow leaves. We are not visitors who were dropped onto this planet from some distant cosmic location. We are a direct, natural expression of this world, woven from the same dust, air, and starlight. When we see ourselves this way, the fear of our own end begins to soften. If you are not a separate fragment, but rather a vital organ of the entire cosmos, then death is not an exile. It is simply a change in form. Think of it as the universe closing one eye. The consciousness that looked through that eye does not disappear from the grand design, because the observer and the observed are the same system. You are the universe looking at itself, experiencing its own beauty and complexity through your specific vantage point. When that vantage point dissolves, the larger reality remains. This perspective brings a deep, lasting comfort. You cannot truly leave the universe because there is nowhere else to go. You cannot be cast out of existence because you are existence itself. The atoms in your body were forged in the hearts of ancient stars, and they will return to the earth to become new things, perhaps grass or clouds, or the feathers of a bird. The awareness you feel right now is the universe waking up and recognizing its own presence. We often think of our lives as a brief candle flame that is easily blown out. But the flame is not separate from the oxygen, the wax, or the heat. The flame is the process of all these elements dancing together. When the candle burns down, the flame does not go to a lonely void. The energy simply scatters back into the room, returning to the source from which it arose. By letting go of the illusion that you are an isolated ego, you can find a profound peace. You are not a lonely passenger riding on a rock through space. You are the very movement of the cosmos itself. When the time comes to let go, you are not losing yourself. You are simply returning to the silent, infinite whole that has always held you. You are going back to where you have always been, resting in the quiet ground of being. The Curated Gallery. Imagine walking into a quiet room. The walls are painted a soft, clean white, and there are only 12 paintings hanging there, spaced widely apart. You can sit on a bench in the center of the room and appreciate each one. You notice the brushstrokes, the way the light catches the paint, and the feelings the colors stir inside you. You spend an hour with just these 12 frames, and you leave feeling filled. Now, compare that to walking into a massive warehouse containing millions of paintings, stacked from floor to ceiling, stretching as far as the eye can see. There is no way to take in everything. You walk down the endless aisles, overwhelmed by the sheer volume, barely noticing the canvases as you pass them by. You leave feeling exhausted, with nothing staying in your mind. Having every option in the world does not make our lives richer. When we have unlimited choices, we often find ourselves frozen. We struggle to make a decision because we are terrified of choosing the wrong thing. If we could live forever, we could read every book, visit every city, and try every career. But if we could do everything, then no single choice would actually shape who we are. We would skim the surface of everything and never go deep into anything. We would become collectors of noise rather than creators of meaning. Think about the decisions you make every day, from the small conversations to the major milestones. In a world without limits, these choices would have no weight. They would be like grains of sand on an endless beach, indistinguishable and quickly forgotten. But because our time is short, each choice carries a quiet significance. A finite life changes everything. Because our days are numbered, we must make choices. We have to choose who to love, what to build, and where to focus our attention. We cannot walk down every path, and that is a gentle relief. The path we do choose becomes special, precisely because we had to turn away from the others. We select our friends, our passions, and our quiet moments, placing them carefully on the walls of our own personal gallery. These constraints curate our existence. They turn a chaotic wave of possibilities into a distinct, beautiful story that belongs only to us. Your life is not a warehouse of endless, dusty options. It is a carefully selected collection of moments, people, and places that you chose to care about. The end of our time is not a threat to this beauty. The limit is the very thing that turns our random experiences into a masterpiece. The quiet after the storm. Recall a time when you walked for hours in a freezing rainstorm. Your fingers are numb, your clothes are heavy and wet, and every single step feels like a monumental effort. The wind pushes against you, and your body tenses as it tries to keep warm. Then you finally step inside your front door. You peel off the cold layers, dry yourself off, and wrap yourself in a thick, warm blanket. A deep warmth slowly spreads through your skin, and you let out a long, sighing breath. The struggle against the storm is over. You can finally rest. Living in a biological body is very much like being out in that storm, day after day, year after year. From the moment we are born, our biology keeps us running on a treadmill of endless demands. We have to seek out food when we are hungry, find shelter, and constantly scan our surroundings for danger. Our minds are programmed by millions of years of evolution to worry about our status in the group, to fret over the future, and to avoid pain at all costs. It is a non-stop job that we never really get to resign from. We manage our anxieties, patch up our wounds, and try our best to keep up with the expectations of the world. Even when we think we are relaxing, our nervous system is still humming in the background, keeping our heart beating, our lungs expanding, and our muscles ready to react to any sudden change. We are constantly maintaining a delicate balance, trying to keep ourselves safe and satisfied in a world that is always moving. Death can be understood as the moment the storm finally clears and the doors open to let us inside. It is the absolute cessation of all those heavy biological demands. When the body stops, the endless cycle of desiring and fearing stops with it. There is no more hunger to satisfy, no more social standing to maintain, and no more anxiety about tomorrow. The constant pressure to perform, to protect, and to survive simply melts away into the quiet air. The mind no longer has to solve problems, search for answers, or guard against threats. We often think of death as a loss, as if we are being deprived of something we deserve to keep. But we can also choose to see it as the ultimate, quiet rest from the labor of living. It is the moment the heavy, wet coat of biology is taken off your shoulders for the last time. It is the warm blanket, the quiet room, and the deep peace that comes when there is nothing left that you have to do. The dynamic balance. Think back to the very beginning of life on our planet, nearly 4 billion years ago. The earliest living things were simple single-celled organisms, floating in a vast, warm ocean. Imagine if those first tiny cells had been immortal. If they had never died, they would have multiplied and quickly used up every drop of water and every scrap of food. The world would have become crowded with the exact same simple forms, frozen in time. There would have been no room, no resources, and no need for anything else to ever exist. The story of life would have stopped on the very first page. We would not be here to talk about it, and the world would be silent. Biological death is the gentle hand that turns that page. By stepping aside, older forms of life make space for new trials, new designs, and new ways of experiencing the world. This constant clearing of the stage is what allows for adaptation and diversity. It is the reason we have towering redwood trees, soaring eagles, and the quiet intelligence of dogs, instead of only a thick soup of ancient cells. Without death, evolution would grind to a halt, and the grand experiment of life would freeze. The flow of life depends on this constant movement, where the old gracefully yields to the new. We can view our own finite lives through this lens of creative renewal. Our presence here is temporary, and that temporary nature is our contribution to the vitality of the earth. We are holding the baton for a brief moment in a grand relay race that has been running for billions of years. By eventually letting go, we ensure that the race continues. We make room for new minds, new ideas, and the next generation of eyes to look up at the stars and see the sunset. It is a beautiful kind of generosity. We step back so that the music of existence can play new notes, keeping the symphony alive and forever changing, ensuring that the planet remains vibrant and full of potential. Knowing that we are part of this dynamic balance can bring a deep sense of peace. We are not being discarded, we are simply passing the torch so the flame does not go out. By accepting our place in this flow, we connect ourselves to the future, trusting that the world will carry on with the same beauty we once enjoyed. But this realization also opens up another question. How does this shared vulnerability connect us to every other living thing around us? The shared human thread. Imagine standing on a crowded subway platform or walking down a busy city street. People brush past you, their shoulders bumping, their thoughts fixed on their phones or staring blankly ahead. Perhaps someone cuts in front of you, or speaks too loudly, or seems entirely wrapped up in their own small world. It is easy to feel a spark of irritation, a sudden wall rising between you and this sea of strangers. But if you pause, if you consider the person sitting across from you with a quiet mind, a gentle shift happens. That person, with their hurried steps and worried expression, carries the very same quiet certainty that you do. They are moving toward the end of their story. Every single person sharing this space with you will one day take their final breath. The person who irritated you, the driver who honked, the quiet woman holding a paper cup, all of them are walking the same path. We are all traveling together on a temporary journey. When you realize this, your irritation begins to soften. The sharp edges of judgment melt away, replaced by a quiet sense of shared experience. Think of us as passengers on a great ship sailing through a storm. The ship is slowly taking on water, and eventually, it will sink beneath the waves. We do not know when our turn will come, but we know the destination is the same for everyone on board. Knowing this, how do we treat our fellow travelers? We do not fight over seats or argue about minor details. Instead, we offer a warm hand, a quiet nod, a moment of patience. We recognize that we are all in this together. This shared vulnerability creates a deep connection between us. It is a thread that binds every human being who has ever lived and every human being who will ever walk the earth. When you encounter a stranger, you are meeting someone who struggles, who loves, who fears, and who will one day leave it all behind. This common fate is a powerful equalizer. It levels the mountains of pride and fills the valleys of loneliness. When you walk through your day with this awareness, your interactions begin to change. You find yourself listening a little more closely, breathing a little more slowly, and offering a gentle smile where you might have once offered a cold stare. You realize that everyone is carrying a heavy pack and that a little kindness can make the journey a bit easier for them. This is the shared human thread. It is the understanding that our time is short and that we are all walking each other home. It is a simple realization, but it has the power to transform the way we see the world. By embracing our shared mortality, we find a deep well of compassion within ourselves. We see that we are not separate islands, but part of a vast, beautiful ocean of life. And in that connection, we find ultimate peace. The Unimportance of Scale. Consider a short prelude written by Frédéric Chopin. It lasts only 90 seconds. There are no grand build-ups and no long, winding movements. Yet in those 90 seconds, a simple sequence of piano notes can leave you in tears. It captures a lifetime of longing and beauty, holding your heart in a gentle grip before fading away into silence. Now, compare that brief prelude to a 3-hour loop of generic elevator music. The elevator music is long, predictable, and goes on and on without ever really saying anything. It fills the room, but it does not touch you. It is simple background noise, easily forgotten the moment it stops. We often measure the value of a life the way we measure that elevator music. We count the years, hoping for a high number, as if a long life is automatically a better one. But time does not work that way in our hearts. Time is subjective. Think about a single evening spent laughing with a dear friend, or a quiet morning watching the white fog roll over a still lake. We can feel the crisp air and hear the gentle wind in the trees. In those moments, time seems to stretch. A single moment of deep connection, of pure presence, or of quiet peace can outweigh a decade of routine existence. We do not need a massive canvas to paint a masterpiece. A small, perfect sketch can hold just as much truth. When we focus too much on the length of our lives, we might forget to look at the depth. A life can be completely full, even if it is short. It is about how deeply we feel, how warmly we love, and how present we are in the moments we actually have. Think of a single raindrop falling into a quiet pond. It does not last long. Its entire existence is a brief journey from the cloud to the water. But when it lands, it creates ripples that expand outward, changing the surface of the pond. The raindrop does not need to last forever to make a difference. Its impact is complete in a single instant. Instead of wishing for more time, we can choose to dive deeper into the time we already have. We can listen more closely to the people we love. We can feel the warmth of the sun on our skin today. By choosing depth over length, we find a quiet peace. We realize that our lives, no matter how brief, can be whole, beautiful, and completely enough. We do not need a century to experience the wonder of being alive. A single day can hold a universe of meaning. The freedom of the absurd. In the early 1940s, Albert Camus walked along the sunny Algerian coast, listening to the waves crash against the shore while thinking about a very old story. He was writing about Sisyphus, the mythical king who was punished by the gods to push a massive boulder up a hill, only to watch it roll back down, over and over, for eternity. Most people see this story as a tragedy of endless, pointless labor. But Camus saw something else. He saw a strange kind of freedom in the struggle. He used the word absurd to describe the human condition. For him, the absurd is the friction between two things: our desire for order and meaning, and the cold, silent universe that offers none. We ask the stars why we are here, and the cosmos replies with silence. This silence can feel heavy at first. We often go through life looking for a pre-written script, a grand plan that tells us exactly how to live, what to value, and who to become. When we realize there is no cosmic blueprint, we might feel lost. But Camus suggested that this silence is actually a great gift. If the universe has no pre-written plan for you, then you are entirely free. There is no correct path you must find, and there is no cosmic gradebook tracking your success. There is no destiny you can fail to achieve. You are the author of your own story, even if the story is written on water. This realization relieves the pressure to be perfect. Think of it like being handed a blank canvas. If a master painter had already sketched out a design and told you to color within the lines, your choices would be limited. But a blank canvas means you can paint whatever you want. You can paint a bright red line, a messy blue circle, or leave half of it empty. The meaning of the painting is yours to decide. When you live without the burden of a cosmic script, life becomes lighter. You can enjoy the taste of a fresh apple, the warmth of the sun on your skin, or a quiet conversation with a friend, simply because these things feel good in the moment. You do not need to justify your existence to the stars. The lack of inherent meaning gives us the freedom to create our own. We push our own boulders, but we choose which hill to climb, and we can smile as we walk back down. The freedom is entirely ours to enjoy every single day. The gentle farewell. Imagine you are at a warm dinner party. The room is filled with the low hum of conversation, the clinking of glasses, and the amber glow of candlelight. You have eaten well, laughed with friends, and listened to stories that touched your heart. But as the evening winds down, a quiet tiredness settles over you. You realize it is time to go. You do not shout or cause a scene. Instead, you gently stand up, thank the host for a wonderful time, and slip your coat over your shoulders. You step out of the front door and onto the porch, greeted by the cool, quiet night air. The noise of the party fades behind you, replaced by the soft whisper of the wind through the trees. You take a deep breath, feeling a sense of completeness, and begin your walk home. This departure is peaceful because you accepted the evening had to end. Imagine how different it would feel if you fought against the closing hours, if you clung to the doorframe, begging for one more hour, or sat in the corner in quiet anger. The warmth of the entire night would be ruined by the struggle of the final minutes. Yet, we often treat the end of our lives with this very resistance. We fight the natural flow of time, turning a quiet departure into a painful struggle. We try to hold on to the light even when our eyes are heavy with sleep. When we let go of the need to control the uncontrollable, the nature of our leaving changes. The fight against the inevitable is where the suffering lives, not in the ending itself. By accepting that our time is finite, we can view our departure as a quiet exit after a full and interesting evening, rather than a tragedy. We can look back at the warmth of the room, the faces we loved, and the stories we shared, and feel grateful for the invitation. There is a quiet dignity in knowing when to step aside, allowing the room to carry on without us. Stepping out into the dark is no punishment. It is simply the quiet space that follows the noise. It is the silence after a song, the stillness after a dance. When we stop fighting, we find that the cool night air feels refreshing rather than cold. We find that letting go is a gentle release rather than a loss, a return to the quiet peace that existed long before the party ever began. We walk down the steps, leaving the lights behind, ready for whatever rest lies ahead. The unfolding flower. The cherry blossoms in Kyoto fall like pink snow under a soft spring breeze. People travel from all over the world to walk beneath these trees, watching the petals drift slowly to the earth. If these blossoms remained on the branches all year round, frozen in a state of permanent bloom, we would likely walk past them without a second thought. They would become part of the background, as unnoticed as the concrete sidewalk beneath our feet. We gather to watch them because they only stay for a week or two, and that brief window makes every single blossom feel like a rare gift. There is a traditional Japanese concept known as mono no aware, which translates to the beautiful pathos of things passing away. It is a gentle awareness that everything around us is temporary, and that this very fleeting nature is what makes those things precious. It is a quiet appreciation of the beauty that exists in the delicate space between coming into being and fading away. It is the understanding that the sadness of something ending is actually what gives it flavor and depth. Consider a bouquet of silk or plastic flowers. They are perfect. They never wilt. Their colors never fade, and they require no water or care. Yet, we rarely find them deeply moving. They feel cheap and static because they are immune to time. A real flower, on the other hand, carries a sense of quiet drama. It begins as a tight bud, opens its petals to the sun, releases its fragrance, and eventually drops its petals one by one. We treasure the real flower precisely because we know it will wither. Its beauty is inseparable from its decay. This shift in perspective changes how we experience the world around us. We can learn to love things and people because of their transience rather than in spite of it. The warmth of a shared meal, the laughter of a friend, the light of a fading sunset. All of these moments are beautiful because they are slipping away from us even as we experience them. They are like those falling petals, beautiful because they do not last. When we accept that transience is the very source of beauty, the temporary nature of our own lives begins to feel less like a tragedy and more like a work of art. We are like the flowers, unfolding for a brief season before returning to the earth. As we think about the temporary nature of our lives, we can consider what happens to the force that keeps us moving. What does modern science tell us about the conservation of the energy that animates us? The silent cosmos. If you step outside on a clear night, far from the bright lights of the city, and gaze upward at the sky, you are met with a vast, dark quiet. The space between the stars is enormous, stretching across billions of light years. It is easy to feel that this silence is cold, or perhaps even hostile, as if the universe is an empty house where we do not belong. But if we shift our perspective, we can see this silence in a very different way. The quiet of the cosmos is not a threatening void. It is a blank canvas, a peaceful space that allows our own minds to exist and shine. The silence is not empty. It is full of potential. Imagine a busy room filled with loud music and shouting voices. In such a noisy room, it is impossible to hear a soft whisper or to follow a delicate thought. The universe, by being mostly silent and empty, creates the perfect quiet room. It is in this stillness that consciousness can arise. Without this vast background of quiet, our own thoughts, feelings, and experiences would have no room to breathe. The silence of space is the very thing that makes our internal lives possible. It is the canvas upon which our consciousness is painted. We often think of ourselves as separate from the universe, as if we were visitors who arrived here from somewhere else. We walk upon the earth, gazing at the stars, feeling small and disconnected. But science tells us a different story. Every atom in our bodies, from the iron in our blood to the calcium in our bones, was forged inside the hearts of ancient stars. When those stars ended their lives, they scattered these elements across the dark void. Over billions of years, those elements came together to form our planet, and eventually to form us. You are made of the very same materials as the stars and the planets. You are not a stranger looking in from the outside. You are a part of the universe that has become alive. Through your eyes, the cosmos is looking out at itself. Through your mind, the universe is thinking about its own existence. When you feel joy or sorrow or curiosity, it is the universe itself experiencing those feelings. We are the ways that the cosmos has found to know itself. We are the witnesses of this vast and silent space. This perspective changes how we think about our own lives and our eventual end. Our time here is short, like a single spark flying upward from a campfire. But that spark is a moment of awareness in a cosmos that is otherwise silent and asleep. For a brief period, the universe has woken up in the form of you. It is experiencing the taste of fresh water, the warmth of the sun, and the quiet beauty of a winter evening. You are the universe waking up for a moment to perceive itself. And once that brief moment passes, you return to the deep stillness of the background. When our life ends, that spark of awareness does not disappear into a hostile void. Instead, it returns to the quiet background from which it emerged. It is like a wave settling back into the ocean, or a breath being released back into the air. The silence of the cosmos is our home. It is where we came from, and it is where we will return. Knowing that we are the universe experiencing itself brings a deep sense of peace. We do not need to fear the quiet, because the quiet is what allowed us to exist in the first place. Your brief moment of awareness is a gift, a chance for the cosmos to feel, to think, and to know itself, even if only for a short time. The flow of energy. Imagine the electrical impulses firing in your brain right now, keeping your thoughts moving. As you listen to these words, Tiny currents of electricity are leaping across the gaps between your neurons, carrying messages, creating memories, and maintaining the quiet hum of your awareness. This activity is pure energy. It is the same fundamental force that powers the distant stars and drives the ocean currents. It does not belong to us. We simply borrow it for a little while, using it to animate our bodies, feel sensations, and illuminate our minds. When a human life comes to an end, we often talk about a light going out. But physics tells us a very different story, one that is deeply comforting. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created, and it cannot be destroyed. It can only change from one form into another. When we die, the energy that once powered our heartbeats and our thoughts does not suddenly vanish into nothingness. It does not disappear from the universe. Instead, it obeys this ancient, unbroken law of conservation. The electrical energy of our nervous system and the chemical energy stored in our cells begins to transform. It radiates outward as heat, gently warming the air and the soil around us. It joins the thermal pool of the earth, blending with the warmth of the sunlit ground and the cool night air. The energy that once allowed you to feel joy, to dream, and to love continues to exist. Only now it is in a different, more distributed state. It becomes part of the wind that rustles the trees, the warmth that coaxes a new seed to sprout, and the ambient hum of the planet. This thermodynamic journey is a continuous transformation rather than a sudden ending. We are not separate from the environment, and our passing is not a point of subtraction. It is simply a phase change. The universe is a closed system, which means the total amount of energy in it remains exactly the same from the beginning of time to the very end. Not a single joule of your existence is ever lost to the universe. Every bit of the warmth you have generated, every spark of electricity that ever crossed your mind, remains present in the cosmic fabric. You are woven into the structure of reality itself, and that weave can never be unraveled. In this way, we do not really leave. We simply return to the great flow, continuing our existence as part of the silent, eternal dance of energy that shapes everything we know. The release of identity. Think of how much energy you spend every single day holding up the heavy weight of being you. From the moment you wake up, you start building your identity all over again. You pull on your name, your job, your memories, your worries, and the long story of your life. It is like carrying a heavy suitcase wherever you go. You have to defend your reputation. You have to explain your choices. You have to make sure other people see you in a certain way. This constant effort is exhausting. We wear a social mask, pretending to have everything under control, even when we feel lost inside. We worry about making mistakes and what others will think of us. We build this big, complicated character, and then we have to spend all our energy protecting it from the world. But what if you did not have to carry that weight anymore? Death is the gentle hand that removes this heavy mask. It is the ultimate relief from the deep tiredness of being a specific person. When the story of you ends, all the pressure to maintain that story melts away. You no longer have to worry about your mistakes, your duties, or your legacy. There is no need to perform, no need to achieve, and no need to protect a version of yourself that was always changing anyway. The burden of being someone is finally lifted, leaving only quiet space. Imagine taking off a pair of tight shoes at the end of a very long walk. That sudden, beautiful sense of lightness is what it feels like to let go of your personal identity. You do not have to be the clever one, the strong one, or the successful one anymore. You do not have to be anyone at all. Instead of a small, anxious self, you return to the quiet peace of the unnamed source of all things. It is like a single drop of water returning to a calm, still lake. the drop does not disappear, but it no longer has to struggle to stay a separate drop. It simply rests in the quiet water. We spend our lives building walls around ourselves, trying to stand out and prove our worth to everyone around us. But those walls are heavy to keep up day after day. When they finally crumble, we are not lost. We are simply set free. The quiet joy of letting go of your name and your story is the ultimate peace. You can finally rest, safe in the knowledge that you do not have to carry the heavy burden of being you forever. The art of letting go. Think about a quiet afternoon spent cleaning out a forgotten desk drawer. You come across old letters from years ago, faded receipts from places you no longer visit, and notebooks filled with thoughts from a person you barely recognize anymore. When you finally decide to drop those heavy papers into the recycling bin, a wonderful sense of lightness settles over the room. It feels as though you have shed a physical weight, leaving you feeling clean and unburdened. We often carry our past around like a heavy suitcase, holding tightly onto old opinions, outdated versions of ourselves, and material possessions we no longer need. Clinging to these mental models creates a constant friction in our daily lives, making us heavy and resistant to change. We can choose to look at letting go as a skill we practice every single day. It starts in small, quiet ways. It happens when we choose to release a grudge we have carried for years, or when we admit that an opinion we held for a decade no longer fits who we are today. This is the active practice of clearing away what is no longer alive within us. It is not about losing who we are, but about allowing ourselves to grow. By releasing these small things, we prepare ourselves for the final release. Each time we discard an old self-image, we learn that we can survive the loss of what we once thought was essential. We find that we are still here, even after the old parts of us have faded away. People often view death as a sudden thief that arrives to steal everything we have built. But if we spend our lives practicing the art of letting go, death looks very different. It becomes the natural culmination of a lifelong habit of release. Throughout our lives, we have already let go of our childhood, of previous homes, of old versions of our bodies, and of countless beliefs. We have watched dreams change and relationships shift. By the time the final moment arrives, we have already practiced the gesture of opening our hands thousands of times. We are simply letting go of the very last piece of the story, allowing the final leaf to fall from the branch. This daily surrender makes the present moment feel spacious and calm. We stop fighting the flow of time and instead learn to float along with the current. We realize that we do not need to carry the weight of who we used to be, and we can meet each new day with open hands. How does shifting from the actor to the observer change our final relationship with time? The witness perspective. Imagine sitting on a wooden bench in the middle of a busy park on a warm afternoon. The air carries the gentle scent of cut grass and damp earth. A short distance away, children are playing tag, their laughter rising and falling like a light breeze. A spotted dog chases a red ball across the green lawn, its tail wagging with pure energy. High above, the green leaves of a large oak tree rustle softly in the wind, catching the golden sunlight. You are sitting perfectly still. You are not running after the ball. You are not organizing the games, and you are not managing the wind. The park is completely alive, and it does not need your effort to keep going. The entire scene unfolds naturally, and you are simply there to witness it. There is a deep, quiet comfort in this realization. You do not have to direct the world. It is beautiful enough to simply sit and watch. Throughout our lives, we often feel like we must be the lead actor in every single scene. We take on the heavy burden of being the driver, steering every event, managing every outcome, and carrying the weight of our daily struggles. We constantly strive, plan, and worry about what will happen next. We feel responsible for the entire world around us, as if the sun would not rise without our effort. But what happens if we shift our perspective? What if we step back from the stage and take a seat in the quiet audience? When we change our identity from the active driver of life to the quiet witness of life, our relationship with existence changes. We begin to view our lives. Instead of treating them as a series of problems to solve, we see them as a grand, unfolding event. We observe our thoughts, our emotions, and our physical experiences passing by like clouds in the sky. We do not try to hold on to the light clouds, nor do we fight the dark ones when they appear. We simply watch them move across the wide space of our mind. This shift in focus brings a sense of profound relief. When we view ourselves as observers, the constant pressure to control everything dissolves. We realize that we are temporary guests watching a beautiful play. We do not own the stage, and we do not own the other actors. We are simply here to experience the show for a brief, precious moment. Think of a night when you stood outside and gazed up at the stars. You did not try to rearrange the constellations. You did not worry about whether the moon was shining brightly enough. You simply stood there, receiving the light that traveled across millions of miles of empty space. In that moment, you were not a driver trying to fix the sky. You were a witness, accepting the cosmos exactly as it was. We can bring that same quiet acceptance to our own lives. We can view our joys, our sorrows, our successes, and our failures with the same peaceful gaze that we direct toward the night sky. When the time comes for the show to end, we do not need to feel angry or cheated. We do not have to resent the fact that the play will continue long after we have left our seats. Instead, we can feel a deep sense of gratitude that we were able to see it at all. We were given a ticket to watch the universe exist. We saw the light, we heard the music, and we felt the warmth of the sun on our skin. The fact that the show goes on without us is not a tragedy. It is a beautiful sign that the world is alive, vibrant, and continuous. By adopting the perspective of the witness, we find a gentle path to acceptance. We let go of the need to control the future. We let go of the fear of leaving. We rest in the quiet joy of having participated in this brief, wonderful moment of awareness. We sit on our bench, watch the leaves rustle, and find peace in simply being here to observe it all. The comfort of the ordinary. Think of the smell of fresh rain on warm asphalt, or the quiet weight of a sleeping cat on your lap. These small sensations hold a quiet power that easily escapes us when we are busy chasing grand goals. We often spend our days striving to build monuments, to leave behind a name, or to achieve some lasting legacy that will outlive us. Yet, when we acknowledge that our time is limited, the heavy pressure to perform begins to lift. The urge to conquer the world fades, and we are left with the gentle beauty of the present. Mortality has a way of stripping away our exhausting ambitions, leaving behind what truly matters. Without the need to build a permanent empire, we can finally appreciate the simple pleasures that fill our days. A warm cup of tea in the morning, the sound of wind rustling through dry leaves, the soft glow of a street lamp on a quiet evening. These experiences do not need to last forever to have value. Their brevity is actually what makes them precious. A flower is beautiful because it eventually fades, and a song is beautiful because it must end. We do not demand that a sunset last forever to enjoy its colors, so we should not demand that our lives be eternal to be meaningful. When we stop demanding that our lives be monumental, we find a deep, grounding satisfaction in simply being here. We do not need to justify our existence with grand achievements. It is enough to feel the cool air in our lungs, to listen to the distant hum of traffic, and to notice the shadows slowly stretching across the floor. These ordinary moments are complete in themselves. They require nothing more from us than our presence. The simple act of breathing in and breathing out becomes a quiet celebration of being alive. By letting go of the need for an eternal legacy, we can fully embrace the domestic joys of the immediate present. The taste of a ripe piece of fruit, the comfort of a worn sweater, the sound of a loved one laughing in another room. We are alive right now, participating in this quiet dance of existence. This very moment, with all its simplicity, is entirely sufficient. We do not need to reach for the stars when the ground beneath our feet is so rich with life. In the quiet space of the ordinary, we find the peace we have been searching for all along. We are here, we are awake, and that is more than enough. The final exhale. We can consider the slow, steady rhythm of a sleeping infant's breath, rising and falling without effort. The rise is gentle, and the fall is a quiet release of air. It requires no thought, no planning, and no struggle. It is the simple biological clockwork of our existence. We begin our lives with this automatic rhythm, and when the time comes, we finish our lives in a very similar way. For many of us, the final moments of life feel like a frightening mystery. We worry about pain, and we worry about struggle. Yet, science reveals that our bodies possess a built-in wisdom for the end. The physical body knows how to let go. As the journey nears its completion, a natural cascade of changes begins to happen within the nervous system. The brain begins to release a gentle flood of chemical messengers, including endorphins, which act as natural protective shields. These compounds quiet the nerves and soften the senses, bringing a deep, soothing state of calm. During this final phase, the heart slowly eases its pace, and the breathing pattern changes. It becomes light and shallow. This is not a state of panic or distress, but rather a peaceful slowing down, like a grandfather clock gently winding down. The temperature cools, and the awareness begins to drift inward. The active, thinking mind steps back, allowing the body to take over the process completely. It feels like drifting away on a calm current, where the boundary between waking life and deep rest simply dissolves. We do not have to fight, nor do we have to worry about how to navigate the final moments. We do not need to guide this process, nor do we need to struggle to make it happen. The body knows exactly how to transition. It has a template for shutting down, one that has been refined by millions of years of biology. Just as our cells know how to heal a cut or digest a meal without our conscious instruction, they also know how to shut down the machinery with grace. It is a quiet, natural sequence, a soft closing of the doors. We are held by the same ancient biology that sustained us throughout all our years. When we view the end of life through this physical lens, it becomes less of a frightening event and more of a quiet, biological completion. It is a soft, natural surrender to the earth. Where does that leave us when the breathing finally stops and the quiet returns? The quiet return. Close your eyes, listen to the quiet space between your breaths, and feel the stillness. In this quiet moment, let your mind rest. We have traveled through 50 different perspectives tonight. We looked at ancient logic, and we watched the cosmic waves crash on the shores of time. We traced our path from stars to dust, and we explored how a finite life gives everything its beauty. Now, we arrive back where we started, at the beginning of the circle. Think of a long, warm summer evening when you were a child. You played outside until the sun went down and the sky turned a deep indigo. You were exhausted, your muscles heavy with a good kind of tiredness. When you finally walked through the front door, the warmth of the house wrapped around you like a soft blanket. You did not have to think, or plan, or worry. You simply let go and fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. That feeling of safety, of returning to a place where you belong, is what this final step represents. Before we were born, we existed in a state of absolute quiet. There was no pain, no worry, no expectation. We did not feel the passage of years, and we did not feel lonely. We were simply part of the silence from which everything grows. Returning to that state is not a fall into darkness, but a gentle walk back to the room where we rested before our journey began. It is a return to a home we already know, a place that has been waiting for us with patience and warmth. The universe does not discard anything. The molecules that make up your hands, the thoughts that flicker through your mind, and the warmth in your chest are all borrowed pieces of a grand design. When the time comes to return them, it is not a loss. It is a quiet release. You are handing back the keys to a beautiful room you got to occupy for a little while. You do not need to worry about holding on to these pieces forever. The universe keeps them safe. The space you leave behind is not empty. It is filled with the echoes of your presence, and the elements that made you will go on to form new wonders, perhaps a flower, a breath of wind, or a distant star. You can rest now, knowing that this return is safe and gentle. It is as natural as the autumn leaves falling to the earth to feed the soil, or the rain returning to the ocean. There is no trouble waiting for you there. There is no judgment, no struggle, and no fear. There is only the deep, restorative peace that exists beneath all things. It is the peace of a quiet forest in winter, where everything is still and resting beneath a blanket of soft snow. Consider a single drop of water rising from the ocean as mist, floating as a cloud, and falling as rain upon a mountain stream. The drop travels through forests and valleys, experiencing the rush of the current and the warmth of the sun. But eventually, the stream flows back into the great sea. The drop does not disappear. It simply reunites with the vast waters it came from. It is no longer struggling to hold its shape against the rocks. It is home. You are that wave returning to the ocean. You are the breath returning to the air. As you drift off tonight, let go of the need to hold on to the shore. Trust the current that carries you. Feel the quiet light within you, soft and steady, guiding you back to the source. You are safe. You are complete. You are a beautiful part of this endless cosmic story, and the quiet return is the most peaceful chapter of all. Let the quiet settle in and sleep well.